Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready?
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Days are getting shorter, huh? It's, what time is it? It's like 7 o'clock and it's already pitch black out there already. when the Earth tilts the other way, don't take long, boy, for the days to get shorter. Hate that when it happens, but Christ, still, you gonna do, right? I have a video. It's not long. It's about less than 10 minutes, and I'd like you to see that, and then we'll talk on the other side of it. So let's go to that video.
The ghostwriter of Donald Trump's famous book, The Art of the Deal, has stepped forward and revealed his thoughts about Donald Trump's cognitive decline. And this is a guy who spent months with Donald Trump when he wrote that book, so he knows him pretty well. And what he said about Donald Trump's mental state has got a lot of people talking. When President Biden was still the Democratic Party's nominee, there was a lot of attention on his mental faculties. The poor guy was under a microscope. But once Biden dropped out, that allowed for people to see just how much Donald Trump had declined since 2020. And Kamala Harris was smart to point this out during their recent debate.
And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you.
Kamala clearly hit a nerve with Donald Trump because he couldn't help but respond to her dig at people being bored and leaving early from his rallies.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics.
So I'm not 100% sure what Trump's talking about here. He said that people are getting bussed in, but that's pretty normal. I actually went to a Trump rally myself out of curiosity back in 2021, and we had to park at a mall, and then we all took buses to the venue where the rally was at. So that seems quite normal for people to be bussed in. And then as far as being shown in a different light, no idea what he's talking about. I think it has something to do with him accusing Kamala of faking the size of the crowd through AI or something, but it just feeds into her point that Trump is a rambling buffoon and not making a lot of sense. But of course, Donald Trump will not let it go, and he tried to address these concerns at his recent town hall with Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
But the fake news likes to say, oh, he was rambling. No, that's not rambling. That's genius when you can connect the dots. You gotta. Now, Sarah, if you couldn't connect the dots, you got a problem. But every dot was connected and many stories were told in that little paragraph.
So Donald Trump letting us know that you've got to just connect the dots. The answers are right in front of you. Because he's such a genius, he's dropping clues like breadcrumbs, and only the smartest people can follow along as he rambles and put it all together. But somebody who knows Donald Trump quite well from the past has decided to come forward and weigh in on his mental state. Tony Schwartz, the ghostwriter of Donald Trump's famous book, The Art of the Deal, had some thoughts about Donald Trump, and he shared them with Ari Melber on MSNBC.
He is a very different man than the man I knew in the late 1980s and the man I somewhat interacted with in the 2016 election and the 2020 election. This is a man who's lost a great deal mentally. He is not, this notion that he is still like capable of exciting a crowd, I'm just not sure that I believe beyond that 20 or 25% that are absolutely the core, it's true anymore.
Yeah, well,
I agree with Tony Schwartz here. Donald Trump does not have the juice that he once did. When he was president in 2020, he was able to get people quite riled up saying that the election was stolen from him. But now that he's been a private citizen for a while, and we've seen January 6th, and we've had a normal president since then with President Biden, I don't think people are interested in his antics anymore. And especially with abortion being such a major issue, and everybody knows who caused this huge problem in America by sending it back to all the states by appointing these Supreme Court justices who got rid of Roe v. Wade. I just think the American people are tired of his nonsense, and they do not want to go back to the chaos of the Trump administration. But Tony Schwartz went even further in his diagnosis of Donald Trump.
he muses, he waxes, and sometimes it seems to go off the script of the PR tricks, even though he's such a PR person. It's this weird aspect. So, they've been saying, and I've interviewed Trump aides on this program and say, well, Harris is the best thing that could ever happen to us. Our message, their claim is she's so terrible and they're going to easily do this, right? And then he gets out there and says this.
The presidency was taken away from Joe Biden. And I'm no Biden fan. And people were saying he lost after the debate. He couldn't win. Well, I don't know that that's true necessarily. But whether he could win or he couldn't win, he had the right to run.
Donald Trump, the great advocate of Joe Biden's political rights, you see in that a very clear emotion that he'd rather have Biden back.
I mean, he just couldn't put the two sentences together. That's what's happening, is he loses his train of thought. He doesn't remember things. You know, you can't say a person has dementia unless you are a clinician, you know, looking in a way that I can't. But he sure seems to have lost a step or two. And of all the people I've watched deal with him over the years, Kamala has put him on his back feet more so, starting in the debate, but continuously. He literally cannot get, he can't get his footing.
Interesting.
And I don't think he will.
Yeah.
I don't think Donald Trump will get his footing either. Kamala Harris has really tripped him up. He did not see this play coming that Joe Biden would drop out and Kamala Harris would become the Democratic Party's nominee. I don't think Donald Trump thought this would happen in a million years because he clearly has no plan B. He's been throwing everything up against the wall and nothing is sticking. And if anything, he's looking worse and worse. And his pick for J.D. Vance as his vice president has turned out to be a total mistake now that Kamala and Tim Walz are his competition. But I give a lot of credit to Kamala Harris as well because she's run a brilliant campaign. She's had plenty of opportunities to misstep, and she has done the exact opposite. She seems to be hitting all the right notes, and her campaign has taken off beautifully. Donald Trump's ghostwriter, Tony Schwartz, is 100% right in saying that Donald Trump is not the same guy he was in the past. And now he and his base are having to deal with that reality, and it's not going well for Donald.
So there you go. Yeah, not going well is right. And as an example to that, just recently here, Trump was at a rally, I guess, where he was talking to Jewish people. It was at the annual Israel American Council. That was, and they had that yesterday. Well, while he was up there yakking, okay, he said that if he should lose the election, quote, the Jewish people would have a lot to do with it, unquote. Okay, you know, he's at a thing talking about anti-Semitism, and he says something that's anti-Semitic. You know, could that also be another example of this man losing his fucking mind still, you know? I feel like, you know, what more do people have to see from him in order to make that connection that, you know, Donald Trump is suffering with some kind of, you know, diminished mental capacity, okay? And like that guy said there, you know, the ghostwriter, whatever his name is, he says he could see, you know, the time he spent with him, that, you know, he was having difficulty keeping his thoughts in order, you know? And let me see what he goes. I quote, I'll put it to you very simply and as gently as I can. I wasn't treated properly by the voters who happen to be Jewish, unquote. Yeah, he added later, quote, I don't know. Do they know what the hell is happening? I don't know, unquote. You know, if I don't win this election, and the Jewish people would really have a lot to do with it if that happens, unquote. You know, it's like, you know, it's almost like he's setting himself up, you know, laying the foundation for when he does lose, he's going to blame the Jewish people. He's going to blame immigrants. He's going to say the Democrats cheated. I think at this point, being, you know, 47 days or whatever, how many days it is outside of the election here, MAGA must know that the chances of winning are going to be slim, okay? And they're going to be doing or setting up events that will happen after the election to slow the process of counting the votes down, which in Georgia, I don't know if you know, I saw on the news today, Georgia is going to do hand counting of all the ballots in that state. Hand counting. Which is less accurate than the machine count, right? And takes longer. You know, and I'm thinking, you know, that's like, you know, hello, we're going to make this election ruined. The state of Georgia is going to do what we can to ruin this election. They're going to be the next Florida, right? You know, like in 2000. They're going to be the next Florida. And, you know, I'm hoping, and a lot of people, I mean, I know Oprah had a show last night that I watched, and Meryl Streep had brought up a very good question, you know, about her concerns about when Trump loses, will he just concede, or is he going to do something that's going to wreck the whole process? And Kamala gave a very measured response to that. I don't know if it was intended to, you know, quell people's concerns, but, you know, one of the things she made clear is that, you know, and because we know that he's going to try something, she says it's almost a given that that's going to happen. That's why we can't have this election result be close. It has to be a fucking tsunami on November. That way, there's no way they can cheat their way out of it. There's going to be so many votes against him that he can cheat all he wants, but it's not going to matter at the end of the day. And basically that's what she's trying to convince people to do on November, is that the Democrats come out in a huge fucking number. I mean, a big number. People who never voted before need to come out and vote then, because realistically, that's going to be the only way to counter whatever plan that the MAGA movement has to upset this fucking election dishonestly. And, you know, as much as they accuse the Democrats of cheating and all that, which of course is all baseless, it's the Republicans you got to watch out for when it comes to cheating. They got that all set up for a fucking fall. And I don't know why we allowed them to do that or get away with that after all this time, but the fact is, people already know. You know, this state, they redistrict. Georgia's going to do hand counting. There's going to be people, they're going to try to knock off the ballots. They know the tricks. And I'm thinking, well, why can't you stop it? If you know what they're going to do, why don't you have people out there to prevent that? You know, so I like I said, I don't understand why we, you know, it's like, you know, you see a guy pointing a gun at you, right? And you know he's going to pull the trigger. Are you just going to stand there and take the bullet, or you're going to take the chance, dive out of the way? I mean, that's kind of what I see this as. There's a gun pointed at the voters in this country. We all know the trigger will be pulled. So why do we not do something to stop that from happening? You know, I don't know. It's frustrating because we see these people redistricting and we don't do anything. We see these people talking about hand counting ballots and we do nothing. You know, it's like, well, if you just keep doing nothing while they're doing all this, then it won't matter how many people come out and vote, because they got the whole goddamn shebang all rigged for them to win in every election, no matter if 2 people get out and vote, you know, on their ticket. Okay? So, like I said, either Democrats, not just the voters, but the politicians themselves, if they don't get off their ass and start defending the system of our elections in this country, we're not going to have that system around much longer. Okay? Because at this point now, thanks to Donald Trump and MAGA, every election from now on is going to be critical in this country. It's going to be. Because even if Trump loses, MAGA's still going to be there. They're still going to be in the wings somewhere trying to put meddle in the country's affairs in whatever way they can. They got a taste of power thanks to Trump, and they ain't going to let that go. So, you know, if people, like I said, if the Democrat Party doesn't stand up to that kind of shit and put a stop to it, you know, these measures that the Republicans or the MAGA movement takes to make it easier for them to maintain control over the government, you know, it don't matter how many people get out and vote on the Democrat side. It's just not going to matter. But right now it does. And now you see where we're at. Now we have to win by a big number in order to make sure that the other side can't cheat their way out of it, you know. So, but you know, this stuff here about Trump here and his brain there falling apart and everything, and you know, that's what happens. It's almost like karma. You know, you spend all that time picking on Joe Biden, and now look what happened to you. Now you're the target of everybody's angst, you know. And I feel like, you know, Trump is his biggest enemy, has always and will always be his mouth. He can't control it, and the older he gets, the harder it's going to be for him to tell him to shut up. You know, he won't do it. And you can't tell me MAGA hasn't had their fill of him, you know, and embarrassing them and all that shit. I mean, come on. You can't clap and applaud to everything that he says, especially if it rubs you the wrong way. All right? I mean, how loyal do you have to be to this guy to say that you're going to vote for him? If he took a shit on the stage, are you going to sit there and clap and applaud that because because I'm going to vote for him, so that means I'm going to clap and applaud everything he does? You know, come on. You're just shutting off your common sense and just letting half your brain work instead of the other part going with it. You know, stop that, because that's really, you're being dishonest to yourself. You're being dishonest to your country. You're just wrecking everything, okay, for everybody else who isn't functioning on just one half of a brain, you know. So, you know, and here's another question I got here that's been banging around my head here. You know, people have come out and endorsed Kamala Harris. You know, a lot of celebrities, you know, like Mark Hamill, Stephen King, George Clooney, Mark Cuban, you know, and then of course you saw on Oprah Winfrey's show last night, a lot of celebrities come out and talked. You know, they support Kamala. But Taylor Swift comes out and endorses Kamala, and boy, Donald Trump just hit the fucking ceiling. And he types into his account, puts a post in all caps, "I hate Taylor Swift." It's like, why her? Why didn't you say that to Mark Hamill or Stephen King or Meathead or, you know, all the other fucking people that support the Democrat Party? Why didn't you say that to them? You know, whenever they come out and said anything, why just her? Does he feel threatened by her or something? You know, is there something there that, you know, we don't know about concerning, you know, him and Taylor or whatever the hell is going on? You know, there, you know, I just feel like, there, you know, he singles her out as being, you know, a real, you know, the match that, you know, lit the gas here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, why her? Why? What the hell is it? You know, and he's still ranting about her at fucking rallies, you know. He's still at it about her. I know, I had some people say some perverted things about why that is. You know, I don't know how much of that I can repeat here, but, you know, he may have had a thing for Taylor Swift. I mean, remember how he talks about his own daughter at times, okay? So, you know, there's that possibility. I mean, hey, look, he hung around with Jeffrey Epstein here for how many years now? I mean, you know, and, you know, he's flying in Epstein's old jet, for Christ's sake. I mean, they were buddies. So who knows what they did together that we may find out later or may never find out at all, you know. But certainly the things that he says, and some of these things like this about Taylor Swift, they're signs, right? There's signs that we should look at and say, you know, you know, and, you know, the thing, you know, about how he treats women and tells them, oh, I can grab them by the you-know-what, and, you know, and I can get away with it because I'm important. And, again, another sign. And there's lots of signs. I mean, Christ, I mean, they got whole videos out there of him saying shit that's really not appropriate for young ears about women. But I think, you know, that, you know, maybe he did have sort of a thing for her or something like that. I don't know. You know, but his reaction was, it certainly spoke volumes more than I think he wants people to think. But I don't know. It just hits me funny, you know, when you think about, you know, all these other people and it's her that he gets super mad at for supporting Kamala. All right. Anyway, let's go to commercial break and we'll come back with something else.
This is me.
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Driver's license, registration.
Here you go, sir. How's your day going?
That's your daughter?
Sure is.
Abigail, right?
How do you know her?
Were you about 8 weeks pregnant? So you've been spotting recently. You've had any cramps or nausea?
That's personal.
You been taking your prenatal vitamins?
Excuse me?
Are you ticketing me for something?
Where are you heading, Abigail?
To go see my older sister, Natalie.
Well, that's strange. 'Cause it says here that Natalie's at a concert in Dallas. And your navigation is set to a women's health clinic in one of those abortion states.
We have the right to travel.
Not anymore. Step out of the car.
Please, officer.
Both of you out now. You, sir, are under arrest for crossing state lines to obtain an abortion for a minor under your care. And you, young lady, well, you're under arrest for evading motherhood.
It's never the Republicans who ever bring up race.
Is she Indian or is she black? She was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
This woman, this disaster whose only qualification was having a vagina and the right skin color.
Either Kamala Harris, she's the original Haktua girl.
She's never earned or won anything.
Pimp's trying to find a woman that's weak. You know what I mean, man? Jive turkey? That's not how I remember Kamala Harris speaking. That sounded a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more jive to me.
Kamala Harris is a JV player. She is a DEI pick.
She was a DEI hire.
The DEI vice president.
She would be the queen of DEI if she were elected.
Affirmative action. You're selected because of the melanin in the content in your skin.
Is it possible that she's getting whiter?
Whiter?
Yeah.
I think they've been.
Have you seen her lately? Like, it is weird. It's like she's like a biracial werewolf. Just.
I've noticed she started wearing.
Straightening.
She's a DEI hire, right? She's a woman. She's colored, therefore she's got to be good.
So racist. I don't.
What will you tell your kids? That you voted for a felon and a criminal, supported a man found guilty by a citizen jury, went into the voting booth happy to pull the lever for the only former president in history to bear the mark of criminal shame. Will you tell them that breaking the law is how they should live their lives? That lying to their families about porn stars and hush money is how they should behave? Do you want your son to treat women like a man who was found to have committed sexual assault? Do you want your daughter to be a victim of a man like him?
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Hey, when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the...
Will you tell them that he was honest, that he was a good man?
Very fine people on both sides.
That he treated people the way you've taught them?
Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Will you tell them you're proud of his cruelty? Happy with the ugly insults?
I mean, I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers.
The attacks on women and the endless lies that the chaos, death, and danger he brought was worth it. We know it's hard to walk away and put country over party, but your kids are watching. You're not just voting for your future, you're voting for theirs.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, All right, so here's this other news article here from The Hill, written by Jared Gans, published yesterday. It's entitled, Stein Rejects Debate with Robinson in North Carolina Governor's Race. North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein, Democrat, has rejected a debate with Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, Republican, in their gubernatorial race, citing the many controversial statements the GOP nominee has made throughout his career. Stein campaign spokeswoman Kate Frauenfelder said in a statement that engaging with Robinson for a debate would only give him a platform to spread, quote, his vile and dangerous rhetoric, unquote. Quote, Mark Robinson has spent his entire public life spewing hate, lying about his record, and spreading dangerous and false conspiracy theories. A debate would only serve to legitimize him and provide a platform for his vile and dangerous rhetoric, and we won't be part of that, unquote, Frauenfelder said. Stein had previously indicated he expected he would debate Robinson but stayed non-committal, while Robinson had been pressing Stein for debates and already agreed to participate in one with Spectrum News. He challenged Stein to a debate directly in a post on the social platform X on Tuesday. Robinson has rallied enthusiasm among those on the right as a fierce defender of gun rights and close ally to former President Trump. But his career has also been marked by controversy surrounding a wide range of comments he has made concerning numerous groups. He has described homosexuality and transgenderism as quote-unquote filth, called Muslims quote-unquote invaders, and made derogatory comments about Jews and black voters who support Democrats. He has also referred to abortion as quote-unquote murder and quote-unquote genocide, though he has seemingly softened his stance on the issue during the campaign. Stein's campaign has gone after Robinson, particularly on the issue of abortion, accusing him of being an extremist. Robinson's campaign slammed Stein's decision on the debate, arguing it is not fair to North Carolina voters. Quote, Stein's refusal to participate in a debate deprives North Carolina voters of a gubernatorial debate in the general election for the first time in decades, unquote, said Mike Lonergan, the communications director for the Robinson campaign. Quote, this proves that his empty talking points about democracy are nothing more than cheap cynicism from a dishonest and self-serving career politician taking North Carolina voters for granted, unquote. Stein has argued that, quote, democracy is on the ballot, unquote, this year in North Carolina, with a Republican supermajority in charge of the state legislature and pushing through various electoral reforms. Polling has signaled reason for optimism for Stein. He has opened up a 12-point lead in the polling average kept by the Hill Decision Desk headquarters. But members of both parties have said they ultimately expect a closer finish in the battleground state, which has a history of tight races. Polling in both of the past two gubernatorial races underestimated the Republicans' performance by several points. A gubernatorial nominee passing on debates against their opponent is not unheard of in recent times. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs, Democrat, rejected debating Republican Kari Lake during their gubernatorial race in 2022 on similar grounds to Stein's rationale for not debating Robinson. Hobbs narrowly defeated Lake to be elected governor by less than 1 point. But it's been decades since such a decision was made in North Carolina. The New York Times reported that if Stein and Robinson ultimately do not debate, it will break a tradition in the state since 1972. That's it. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I've heard some of the shit there that Robinson there has said. You know, on YouTube, you can go on YouTube and hear all the crazy shit that he's said on TV and whatever. Okay. And in some ways, it's even worse than the shit you hear from Trump, okay? But, you know, Kamala Harris debated Trump regardless. And look how that ended up for Trump. You know, I think that, like I said before, optics. It's fucking optics that draw people to watch these things. It's really not about policy. All the crap that comes out the day after the debate about, well, they didn't say anything about this, or they didn't say anything about that, we didn't hear a plan about this, we didn't hear a plan about that, that's bullshit. Because the people that watched it weren't making a mental fucking list of the things they wanted to hear or didn't hear. They watch it because they want to see who's going to sweat the worst. You know, who's gonna lose their temper, who's going to lose their cool. And in that debate against Trump, Kamala kept her cool. You know, I could see it wasn't easy for her to do that, because he was saying, you know, he was insulting her, you know, on the stage, and it wasn't easy, but she did it. But boy, did he lose his cool. Shortly after the damn debate started, he was already getting hot there, you know. So, like I said, I think that, you know, Stein, you know, him saying, I don't want to debate this guy because he's a mouth, okay? I understand that, okay? I'm sure Kamala wouldn't have wanted to debate Trump either, you know, but I think there was, you know, a possibility that it could hurt Trump if, you know, if she did, and it did hurt him. The same thing could happen here, although, I mean, they're saying he's ahead. But if people in the state want to see that debate, I think he should give it to him. So that way they can't say, well, you was too scared of Robinson. You wouldn't debate him because you were afraid of him. The last thing people want to see is a hint of cowardice from the campaign, you know, from an individual that's running, okay? They don't want to see that. And I think that, you know, Stein, maybe he ought to just consider debating Robinson and let Robinson's big mouth do him in, okay? Because he's just like Trump. He's got a big mouth and he can't control it, you know, and he's got a lot of hateful things to say. That in itself would be enough to give Stein, you know, to get him in the clear, saying, well, yeah, I did debate the bastard, and you saw what he did. I mean, that's the reason why I didn't want to debate him, but you saw how he acted, okay? He embarrassed the whole state. I say do it, you know? What is it? He's not going to lose. He ain't going to lose. Stein can't lose. I mean, you just do what Kamala did. You bait him, you know? You bait him. Bring him right out into the friggin' foray, you know, and gaslight that bastard. Let him start spewing his hate. Let the people hear this fucking guy's, you know, broken head. And I guarantee you, you know, the day after that debate, it's going to be all, you know, goodbye. And that's why I say that's what they need to do. He shouldn't be afraid to debate him. He don't even have to debate him. You know, if he gets out on the stage, you just say a few things there to throw a dart or two at him, and let that fucking guy blow. You know, it's really easy. You know, these people with tempers and stuff like that, like Trump and this clown here. Okay, their temper is what always does them in the end. You know, because when they're mad, they don't really watch what they say. They need to expel that rage and project. Okay, and when they project, boy, do they project. And when they start that in, and the public at home or the audience sees that, I mean, it's like, you know, you get a rude awakening as to who this guy is. But like I said, it's not there's all kinds of recordings of him running his mouth at events and saying some nasty shit, okay? If he started in on the stage with that, it wouldn't surprise that many people, but it would probably hurt him, and you know, in the end, at the ballot box, because people will remember that because it's fresh in their mind. So like I said, I mean, I'm not shitting on Stein for not wanting to do it. I understand, okay? I understand why he doesn't want to do it, but I think in the context of an election, and you're running for a seat, you need to do this debate for the sake of the people that are going to be voting for you. They need to see this guy fall apart, and you got to do this, you know, just like Kamala did with Trump. And she really didn't have to do a whole lot to get him to, you know, fall to pieces there on the stage. and he's still falling a piece of sense. I mean, he's still bitching about the things that she said to him on the stage. You know, he comes out and he says stuff while he's rallies about, oh, nobody shows up to her goddamn events. You know. I mean, he just says shit. It sounds like a 2-year-old. You know. You know, it's just it's silly how she injected little things almost hypnotically into his head, and it's still in his mind, and it's still eating him up alive, what she said to him on a stage. Weak, people. That's a weak man right there. Okay, weak in a lot of ways. And America doesn't like weak. Okay, we don't like weak. Because, you know, weak doesn't help us when we strive to be the best, right? We always cheer for the winner, the strongest. And I don't think that's really much different around the world either. I mean, we have compassion for people that are weak and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, when we want leaders, when we want someone to you know, idolize, we always want these people for their strengths. You know, think of all the people that you idolize on TV. You know, your heroes and stuff like that. Are they weak? No, they're not. And it's not a fault for people, because hey, since the beginning of time, you know, we've always looked up to people who stand up for us, or you know, are strong, and we respect them. We learn to respect them. You know, it's ingrained in us to do that. You know, and being aware of it as we should be today. We also should remember that people sometimes can pretend to be strong, and they're not. Trump is good at that. He's good at trying to act like he's a strong individual, but you saw how he performed when he was actually put on the gauntlet there. You know, he fell all apart. So he wasn't as strong as he wanted his followers to think he was. No, he didn't perform very well, and even people in his own damn party said he sucked that night on there. Okay, and so for all his rhetoric and all his talk and his bluster and his bullshit and all that crap, at the end of the day, like they say, he's just a small man trying to fill big shoes, you know, that his father left him, and he hasn't changed at all in all this time. He's mentally he's falling apart, you know, because of his age, but really his whole life has been that, trying to be something that he's not. Okay, that's why he fails at every damn thing that he ever did, trying to be a businessman, trying to be a politician, you know, trying to be this, trying to be that, and he never does anything and succeeds at it. I mean, it's a sad story, but at the same time, it's even sadder when you think about all the people that he fucking led to their deaths here when he was president. And you know, that's something that, you know, if I was a president and I had done that shit, you know, but then again, I got a conscience and he doesn't, so I guess that wouldn't matter, you know, my take on it. But it bothered the shit out of me. You know, that's why I wonder about some presidents, how, you know, like Richard Nixon sending all those people to Vietnam and as many people coming back in a box. Did that ever bother him at all? You know, did he ever think about that? You know, if it wasn't for my order, those people would still be alive today. You know, I mean, I don't know. That's you know, things that, you know, I guess you can't really wonder and think that they would feel bad because you're giving your qualities to somebody else who doesn't have them. You try to wonder if Trump could feel bad about the 1 million people that died of COVID when he was out there, you know, saying it's a hoax and all this and that. You know, he clearly found it easy to do that because he doesn't have any care at all in the world for other people other than himself. To him, they're just numbers on a page or something, you know. He doesn't really care about other people. Because, hey, it's them. Why should I care what happens to them, right? As long as I'm fine and I got my money, I don't care what happens to them. So who cares if it's 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 or 1 million or 2 million deaths on my watch. As long as I got to be president, you know, that's all that matters. You know. So I don't know, but like I said, it's really as far as this debate here in North Carolina, which a lot of people are saying is in play for Kamala, and if she gets that state, it's going to mean a lot for her at that, you know, that night, and when they come up with all the electoral votes. So I hope she can pick that state up, and especially, you know, because they say that, you know, on the East Coast, you know, the numbers come in early, right? Because you know, the rest of the country still hasn't caught up to the, you know, according to the time zone. So if, let's say, the West Coast sees big wins for Kamala on the East Coast, then that might discourage some Republican voters from, you know, they'll throw up their hands, oh, she's going to win this anyway, so I'm going to vote, because they'll see all the shit coming in from the numbers coming in from the East Coast. So you know, there's that, you know, that kind of perspective, you know, in every election, that those early numbers can influence the rest of the country. So I don't know, it might also influence it in other ways that aren't so good. You know, it might force the Republicans on the West Coast to start rigging ballots and shit, you know, when they see that Kamala is going to win this thing. You know, all of a sudden you're going to start to see shenanigans popping up all over the damn place in these red states, you know. So, you know, it's election night. You know, there won't be any point to stay up and watch that whole thing and then expect an answer that night, okay? Don't even waste your time, because when you get up the next morning and you open the newspaper, you're probably going to be shocked to hear that, oops, we can't call it for anybody yet because this state or these states have not come in yet with their totals, and the election is still on, okay? And I think that's what's going to happen. We're not going to know who actually wins the election here like we used to be able to overnight, okay? It's not going to happen like that, not this time, because the Republicans are hell-bent on tripping the whole system up for the sake of Trump, okay? So there's gonna be a lot of fighting that could get violent, and you know, I just think people, you know, Americans ought to be prepared for that. You know, when you because I don't think they're going to try to cheat as people vote. They'll probably cheat when it comes to the counting of the ballots, okay? At least in Georgia, that's where they're going to do the cheating on the counting, right? Because it's so easy to cheat there. And, you know, it's hand counting is ripe with inaccuracies. And when they do that, they can challenge the outcome of the numbers, saying, well, they didn't match these numbers, and this, you know, so we have to do a recount, you know, and a recount of the recount, you know, and we're just going to be doing these fucking things till hell freezes over. But, you know, and I fear, this is my biggest fear, is that with all these things happening and the lawyers getting involved, eventually this is all going to get swept right up to the Supreme Court, and if that happens, you know what they're going to do. You know what they're going to do. Because, hey, they've been on Trump's side since the beginning. And even if he, you know, loses, you know, the popular vote and everything, you know, the Supreme Court will come in and do just like what they did in 2000. They'll hand it over to the Republicans, you know. And I feel like that will be a second time where the Supreme Court decided who our president should be, and that shouldn't be happening, okay? It shouldn't have happened that first time either. Even they said it in their decision, which is weird, that they would say that, you know, the Supreme Court should not be in the habit of picking presidents, so they shouldn't use this as a precedent to do this again in the future. But here we are, you know, we're at the cusp here of actually seeing this whole thing, you know, the 2000 election happen all over again here, okay? Because the Republicans can't stand the fact of losing, you know. That's you know, and the thing of it is Al Gore gave into that last time, and I hope that Kamala won't this time. Okay, I hope she takes it to the nth degree, no matter what happens. Okay, because we can't get in the habit of bucking and bowing down to, you know, to the minority party all the time in this country, because, oh, we can't stand losing. You know, hey, in every fucking race, in every fucking battle, there's gonna be a loser, and you can't stop that. And if you can't handle elections because there's a possibility you're gonna lose, then stay the fuck out of them. Okay? If you can't stand it, you know. But, you know, trying to cheat the system and abusing it the way they do is only going to perpetuate the notion that Republicans put out there that government can't work, right? The government never works when they're in charge. You know, it never does. I mean, they go around accusing Democrats of ripping the government apart and stuff like that, or making it huge. But when they're in power, they're the ones that's making the government not function, and they expand on invading your privacy. What would be worse than that? I mean, talk about big government when they're sitting here monitoring your periods, and they're making sure that you're not getting abortions. Isn't that a sign of big government taking over our lives? Come on, you can't be on both sides of the issue on that and be credible. You just can't be. You either are for big government or you're against it. Take your pick. All right, that's it for today. I hope everybody has a great weekend. So please subscribe, comment, and share. Keep your ears open for any health-related issues, and treat each other nice out there. And enjoy the last few. Well, I guess today would have been the last day, right, of summer. So fall starts this weekend. So enjoy the beginning of fall, everybody. In some parts of the country, fall is really pretty. The trees change colors and stuff, and get your cameras ready. And I'll talk to you guys later. So take care.